Hey, let's talk about this week's astrology. So, the week of the 6th of July, and this is a week where we are celebrating Guru Purnima. And Guru Purnima is the full moon that we're going to have this week on Friday, but actually Guru Purnima starts on Thursday. It starts in the 24-hour lead up to that full moon. And so this is a week about having gratitude for all the spiritual teachers you have ever known, you have ever had, to the gurus that live in your life. And when I say guru, I don't mean from the Western point of view, like an Indian saint. I mean anything that has helped dispel darkness and ignorance in your life. That is the direct meaning of guru. Guru means the dispeller of ignorance. It's anything that has been a torch in your life, anything that has shown you the way, anything that has taught you about maybe the pain that you've been carrying or the repeated cycles that have been going on for you that you haven't been able to fully understand, fully be aware of, or even correct. And so, as we head towards the full moon on Friday, Thursday is a really significant day for honoring that guru, those spiritual teachers, even our ancestral teachers, even the animal teachers, the teachers in nature that we have. It's a day for offering gratitude to those that have blazed a path in front of us for us to walk. For those that have, within this realm, known the true self, aham brahmasmi, tattvamasi, the idea that I am that, I am the divine, those that know their true divinity and blaze a path for us to all walk. And the most important thing to remember is even though we're in a culture and kind of in a collective psyche where we tend to see the divine outside of ourselves, where we're even taught that and reinforced that through the concept of a guru, the idea is that the ultimate guru lies within, and that everything you find outside of yourself is a reflection of that inner guru. Because it can be very hard for us, maybe unless we've had many past lives of knowing this and working through this, it can be very hard to initially just grasp that concept, to understand that the divinity is within. We know it as children, and you see that in children. They haven't been corrupted yet by the ego fully or by the mind. And part of the human experience is for that corruption to happen, for that detachment from the divine to happen. It's all perfect. And it reminds me of something I've heard a spiritual teacher who is self realized say when a devotee asked them, "Could you give me enlightenment?" And she responded, "No, and even if I could, I wouldn't give it to you anyway." And the reason being is there is joy and there is incredible magnificence and radiance in the journey of going within, in you discovering the true essence of your being, which is Brahman, which is the divine, which is soul, which is beyond all labels and descriptions. And so, this is a day this week, and also Thursday in particular, to just remember to remember in and amongst your busy life, in and amongst everything that is happening around you, that that all is divine. And even to consider and maybe spend some time thinking about, the harder times you've had in life, the challenging times you've had in life, and seeing how those moments are when the guru is most present. It is only through challenge we come to know the divine within. We come to realize that everyone is as divine as everyone else. Even though some of us in this realm are playing the role of guru or playing the role of spiritual teacher, all knowledge is equal, all beings are equal, all consciousness is equal. Um, yeah. So we'll talk more about that as I go through the week. Let's start today. We have a very auspicious meeting of the sun with the star Sirius. It's sitting just to the side of Sirius because Sirius doesn't sit on the zodiacal belt. And at the same time that the sun meets Sirius, it also enters a nakshatra called Punarvasu. And Punarvasu sits in Gemini in sidereal astrology, or in an astronomically correct astrology, the sun is still in Gemini. And the sun will be in Purnarvasu until the 20th of July. Now, why that's important is when the sun is in Purnarvasu, it's a time of revitalization, it's a time of renewal, particularly if things have felt a little bit stormy, a little bit uncertain, as if you're kind of working through the ways in which you've contained yourself and maybe feeling a little bit heavy. The sun, as it enters Purnavasu, gives us the opportunity to kind of return back to some lightness, to find reinvigoration. And what I love about that is how similar the meaning of the sun meeting Sirius and the sun entering Purnavasu is. Both of those represent renewal, represent like the pranic energy returning to the body, motivation, enthusiasm, energy re-entering life. And it's a beautiful time for renewal, for vitality, for creativity. And when I say creativity, I don't mean art. I mean just like, that energy that rises within you and it just feels inspired and it wants to go somewhere. It wants to do something with you. And you're at a point where you're not trying to rationalize it. You're not trying to control it. You're not meeting it with obligations you've got, like I've got to be home to make dinner or I've got to go to work or I have work to do. It's really that sense of inspiration that there's something new to be created as this sun's energy runs through to the 20th of July. Now, at the same time that that's going on, something to consider today is that the mind is actually in a place which is based on the moon's position. The moon will be in Vishaka, which actually gives us the ability to go after our goals. So, in a way, the sun's inspiration is being met by the mind's ability to actually want to follow that, to follow the soul. And so, particularly if there's something that you've been working towards for a consistent amount of time, if there's been a goal, a dream, a vision that you've been putting effort towards, you can find that today and early tomorrow it starts to um, take shape. There starts to be a sense of this thing coming about. Now, this won't apply to goals or visions that are impulsive or have just come to you over the last week. This is more about things that have had concerted effort behind it. So that might have been like looking to move or buy a new house or something to do with your work or relationship. It's like something that you've been focused on that maybe you've been toiling away at and unsure if you'll actually reap results from it. Today, um, there's the opportunity to do that, for that to happen. Now, on Monday, we're heading towards Mercury retrograde, which will happen next week. And Mercury, before it stations retrograde, it's sitting in Cancer at the moment, and it's going to enter a part of Cancer tomorrow called Ashleisha. And it will be in Ashleisha until the 29th of July. So it's actually going to have the first part of its retrograde cycle sitting in Ashleisha. And Ashleisha is actually the claw of the crab. It's like the pincer. It's not the easiest part of Cancer. Um, and just be really careful. Like we're in Mercury's shadow at the moment, so we're having a preview of the themes we're going to be working through with when Mercury stations retrograde on the 18th. I would be saying this is the harder bit of the shadow period from Monday through to the 18th. Be really aware of where you speak poison into the world. That's a weird thing to say. Where you say things to hurt others, even in really, really small ways. This Mercury retrograde cycle will want you to be aware of where you are maybe hurting others, where the poisons of the mind, um, the thinking of the mind, the stress and the anxiety and the fear of the mind is coming out through the mouth, and it's actually creating karma. It's actually almost like hurting someone else, a bit like a snake bite, even if it's just a little pinch, like those crab claws. And we have a choice when Mercury's in Ashleisha. We can use our words to hurt or we can use our words to heal. And the universe is going to give us people and lessons and conversations which do bring up those poisons, that do bring up the stuff that isn't settled in the mind. So just be aware of where you're really attached to being right, where you're really attached to your fear, where you're really letting that um the ego and its fear and its uncertainty and its desire for separation drive the conversations you have, drive your intuition even. We know when the ego is driving the intuition because we start to see everyone around us as separate. When it's the soul, there's unity and understanding. So it's really not about judgment of the self, because that again is the ego. It's more just take note. Notice between this point and the 18th, where am I subtly like spreading that poison through my words? Where am I creating separation? And even pay attention as well to relationships where there's a lot of codependence, because Ashleisha means to embrace. And so it can also bring up the relationships where we do have a codependent element to the connection. And often that codependence comes from fear, it comes from uncertainty, and it does come from those one of like inner poisons. So just pay attention to that. Added to that, what's really nice today, so yes, Mercury's entering Ashleisha, but also Venus is going to be trine Pluto and also trine Hecate. So like beautiful. So you can find that even amongst the fluctuations of the mind that are happening, there's almost a sense of stability in all of it, a sense that you're starting to head in a new direction. And this is more a long-term transit. It's not as short as the moon's movements, which I'm talking about, or Mercury's movements. But it's more this sense that actually you're starting to attract new things into your life based on a new way of understanding the world. And you can find that today, but through this week and even next week, you're met with new opportunities, that things are attracted to you because you're starting to value things differently. And with Hecate sitting there, really it can feel like you're at a crossroads, whether that's to do with monetary goods, what you're valuing, how you're valuing yourself, how you're charging for your time, how you want to spend your money in the world, as well as how you like love and relationships and that type of energy. So it's almost like you're now at a point, and it should be quite easy to take a new road in those aspects of your life, to take a new perspective, um, a new way of being, which is pushing you away from what the mainstream values. It's pushing you more into what you know is true for you. Now, on Monday, still, the moon is going to be in Anuradha. So this is a day really about friendship. It's about cooperation. This is a part of Scorpio. And it's also about cooperation, not just between friends, but also at a higher level, like to do with your connection to humanity. You can also find that on Monday you might receive some kind of acknowledgement from friends or friends at work or friends of your children for the effort that you put in. So people are actually noticing and offering you some kind of honor for what you've been doing. It can also be a day on Monday where wisdom really flourishes from within, um, and really an ability to see how the effort that you've been making is paying off. So as we skip through to Tuesday, we've got some nice energy again. Venus is entering Rohini, which is a part of Taurus, and she'll be there till the 20th of July, just like the sun sitting in Punarvasu. And Rohini gives us the power of growth, of creation, of fertility. So this is a really beautiful time from Tuesday through the 20th of July, because Venus is all about beauty. She is about children. She is about creative projects. It can be a really beautiful time to sit in inspiration, to grow something, whether that's gardening, whether you're looking to have children, whether you are wanting to pursue a new creative project. She's really supporting that through to the 20th of July. Just be really careful while she's in this position. Be careful of your own jealousy. When it does come up, just notice it. Be really compassionate towards yourself And also be really careful of comparing what you want to other people or drawing a judgment based on what others are doing, because this will kind of poison or make it difficult to use her creative energy. So, and finally, always when there's any planet in Rohini, just be careful what you want because you might get it and it might not be what you thought it was going to be. So, one thing I like to do when a planet is in Rohini and say I'm in creative mode, so with Venus being in Rohini, you might say, like, look, this is what I want, divine. But if it's not for my highest good, I understand. Like, or even asking the divine to intercede and offer you what is for your highest good. On the 19th, oh sorry, on the 9th of July, Wednesday, Parvati, the asteroid, will enter Gemini, which is really beautiful for devotion. If you have a mantra practice, an affirmation practice, a kind of like any devotional practice, even singing, which uses the voice, it's a really beautiful time to explore that. Parvati is going to be in Gemini until the 19th of September. It can also express as writing, writing about love, writing about what you've learnt, journaling, spending time in the morning if you haven't been, actually writing a journal while she's in Gemini, building up self love through the words that you say to yourself. She's really calling for that energy. Now, the moon on Wednesday will be in Mula, which is part of Sagittarius. To be honest, the early morning on Wednesday, the moon will be Gandanta, which means it's at a karmic knot as the moon moves between Scorpio and Sagittarius. So it can feel a little bit discombobulating on Monday morning. If that's the case, deep breaths, just know it's okay. This energy will pass, particularly the mind can kind of find it hard, ticking over extra quick, not being sure of what to do, even bringing up old stories and bringing fear into the body. Just know it has to do with the moon, it will pass. As the moon starts to settle in Mula, though, it's really a beautiful day on Wednesday to untangle things. So, if there have been disagreements, if there's been a problem you haven't been able to get to the bottom of, this is the day to do it. This is the day where the universe is supporting you in doing that. It's really helping you weed out what isn't working. The big watch out, though, when the moon is in Mula is that we are not being self-destructive. So there can be a impetus to remove things, to untangle things, and then at the same time, we can sometimes want to chuck the baby out with the bathwater. Don't do that. It's everything is salvageable. It's just asking to be unknotted. On Thursday, probably the most special day of this week, 10th of July, Guru Purnima. Thursday is ruled by Jupiter, which is the guru, and on top of that, we have Guru Purnima. It will start at 6:06 a.m. AEST, Australian Eastern Standard Time. If you want to calculate it in your area, it will be 24 and a half hours before the full moon time. So if you can look up the full moon time, count a whole day and a half an hour back, that's when Guru Purnima will start. And it will feel really it's a day of gratitude. Like I said at the beginning, a day of reflecting on everything you have learned on your spiritual journey, on your path. It's a beautiful day to meditate. And it's a day where we want to honor. We want to even just say thanks to all of our teachers. Sometimes we forget to do that. We can be in such turmoil or in such a state of growth and processing that we often forget to thank the teacher that we have, whether that's a book, whether that's nature, whether that is a person. And this is a day they don't need to be present in your life. It can be as simple as honoring, as praying, and honoring what they have done to show you, to help you. The way I think of a guru, like it's definitely something that lives within us, but the way I think of it when it's reflected outside of it is if you imagine yourself trekking up a mountain. And you know, when we walk up mountains, very often it will be a path that someone's walked before us and they've kind of removed the big rocks and helped direct us around bits that can't be moved so that we can get to the top. And we don't always know who it is that created that path. That's the guru. In our lives, it's the situations that clear the rubble. It's the spiritual teachers we might not ever meet. It's the wisdom that just drops in from nowhere. And we can't always like ascertain that to someone. I've just had a bird land as I was saying that. I feel like very auspicious. So yeah, so just take some time. to thank, and to thank this within for providing and for placing you um, on this path. And like Ramana Maharshi, the famous Indian saint, said, God, Guru, Self, it's all one. So then on Friday, we're going to be having a full moon. It's in Sagittarius in sidereal astrology, and it's in a nakshatra called Purva Ashadha. And Purva Ashadha is the bow of the Sagittarius constellation. Now, quickly mention if you want to know where that full moon is occurring in your chart, you want a bit of help working with Guru Purnima, understanding the astrology, check out the Sagittarius full moon ritual and reading. There's details below. Purva Ashadha, it really relates to this thing that can no longer be suppressed within us. It's often our true nature that can no longer be suppressed. And so this is a full moon that's bringing to the close a big 18-month cycle of personal spiritual growth and even of creative talents, spiritual growth that could no longer be suppressed, that has come up in weird and wonderful ways and forced us to change our lives in weird and wonderful ways. And that can also occur on the full moon. So almost like the sense of like something that's wanting to pour out from within you, something that can no longer be silenced, which is really true to who you are, to your nature, and you are a creative being. Then we finish the week on Saturday. We have Uranus moving into conjunction with the Pleiades. I have been waiting for this transit. Uranus is like a higher octave of Mercury. And so it does rule communication, it rules technology, it also rules electricity, it rules earthquakes. And the Pleiades is like almost a higher order, yet again, of communication. And it's more to do with the Akashic records, with the records of all humankind, with knowledge and intuition. And so as these two meet, I feel like when they're going to be together for a little bit, but it will start on Saturday, I feel like collectively there can be a big shift in how we communicate. Really unexpected communication coming about around the origins of human civilization, maybe dispelling of some of the myths of where we actually came from, and some honesty around maybe advanced civilizations that lived prior to this one. As well as personally, this can show up as a need to engage with the intuition more, like really big insights that just drop in from nowhere, understandings that come in the most unexpected of ways. Now, the moon on Saturday is going to be in Shravana. I love Shravana as a nakshatra. It's part of Capricorn, and this is all about silence. Saturday is a day for listening. It's a day for being quiet. It's a day where you might want to pull out one of the books that has really informed your spiritual journey and just sit and read. It's really about listening to what the silence has to say. And I want to talk about more about silence next week. It can also be a time which is very rebellious as well. So where everyone else is busy and distracted, Saturday can really demand that you turn off your phone, that you disengage from social media, from TV, and just spend an hour or the day with yourself, really listening to what you have to say for yourself. And it can be very difficult. It sounds easy, be very difficult. It creates the stillness for everything to come up. Also, pay attention to the ears. You might find there's some funky things that happen with your ears on Saturday, like slight earache or buzzing or hearing things. That is all perfect. So that's this week's astrology. If you want to go into more depth, I offer one-on-one readings. I'll also put details below. And I hope you have a wonderful week.